Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm continuing the interview questions which are asked in TCS, and I have discussed a lot of questions earlier as well. And in this video as well, I will discuss few more questions. There will be questions on design pattern, Hibernate, and there will be questions on logs, on microservices. Everything will be discussed here. So make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and make sure you write all these questions and find the answers for these questions, and prepare these as well, because when you prepare these questions, trust me, you will clear any of the interview. If you like watch 4 or 5 videos of mine and prepare accordingly, you will get an idea how what type of questions they ask. So these are all real questions, these are all real interview questions which are asked in the real interview. Okay, real TCS interview. So let me share the question one by one. So the first question, the question we have is, what are the design pattern you have used? So in this question, you need to tell all type of design pattern, like there is creational design pattern, there is behavior design pattern. So whatever you have used, in your project, you need to tell those. Like for example, there is a singleton design pattern, there is a factory design pattern, there is a abstract factory, there is a proxy design pattern, then there is a builder design pattern. So of course, uh, those all not may be used in your like career or project, but whatever design pattern you have a good knowledge, you need to tell that one only key, that design pattern you have used, and explain it with the real-time example as well. Okay, so the subsequent question was, generally people say that they have used singleton, but where they have used, can you tell me the real-time example? Okay, so this is the common thing that when you ask anyone about the design pattern, for the first thing they will tell that they have used singleton, but they don't know where exactly they have used singleton, because like 99% of time you don't need to create a singleton class on your own. Of course, this can be asked in an interview, that how to create a singleton class and various other questions on that as well, but 99%, like, you don't need to create a singleton class on your own, because spring framework provides the singleton feasibility. Even prototype is also a design pattern. I will talk about it later, but singleton, uh, spring boot or spring provides singleton like objects, singleton instances automatically. You need to configure them. So you don't need to create a singleton class on your own. So generally people say that they have used singleton, but they can't tell that where exactly they have used the singleton design pattern. Okay, so you can tell that you have used singleton while using spring boot application or while using spring application. So whenever you are creating a bean, by default it will be a singleton bean. Of course, you can you can create as a prototype bean as well, but by default it will be singleton bean, and it will be stay in the spring container. And whenever you want to use those bean, you can use auto add annotation, at auto add annotation. Okay, something like this, at auto wired annotation. Okay, and the next question was, so what all design pattern are used internally? All design pattern used internally in the spring boot and hibernate, and which scenario you can tell 4 or 5 of them. So like there are multiple design patterns which I have used by JVM internally. Okay, so if you talk about builder design pattern, okay, builder design pattern, so string builder is internally using builder design pattern. If you talk about factory design pattern, so in Hibernate you create a session factory. That means this session factory is internally using factory design pattern. So of course there are like multiple examples in Java. You can search all of them and you can read about them as well. There are multiple examples. You need to tell 4 or 5 examples. So another example I can give, like whenever you are using JUnits, so you create a proxy object. So in that you use a proxy design pattern. There is a design pattern called proxy design pattern as well. So the next question is, Hibernate internal, I think this is a typo from the guy. Hibernate internally uses like some other design patterns as well. Hibernate internally uses some other design patterns as well. Have you heard about proxy design pattern? So if you read about proxy design pattern, it is used by Hibernate internally. So this is the one thing. Okay. So like it is a kind of a structural design pattern. It deals with the structure of the object, not the creation of the object. So like you are creating a proxy instead of actual object, so that is proxy design pattern. So like search about it and read about it, you will get a better idea. Okay, we will move to the next question, which is what are the advantages of Hibernate? What are the advantages of Hibernate? Okay, so there are multiple advantages. If we compare Hibernate with the like other ORM tool or JDBC, there are multiple advantages. Like you don't need to write a lot of steps, the boiler plate steps, like creating to the DB, then getting the executing the query, then creating result set, executing the statement. It can be prepared statement, any other statement, and then getting the result set, then getting the values from there. So there are multiple steps like involves while dealing with JDBC. But in the case of Hibernate, there are very less steps as compared to JDBC. There are methods which are provided like save and persist. So the main benefit of Hibernate is the like which you need to tell, which is must. You can't afford to forget that, which is Hibernate supports persistence. Persistence is in continuous manner you can store the data. Okay, you can interact with the DB and store the data or fetch the data. So that is persistence. So there is like save method, that is persist method. Like you need to read about the differences between these two as well. So that is the thing. Okay, so the next question is on call of which method it will update the DB. So as I said, save method and persist method are two methods which is used to update the values in the DB. Okay, so the next question is, so if I write save method 10 times in 10 lines, will it hit the database 10 times? Or like suppose you have written a lot of code, and like each line you are hitting calling the save method. Okay, and then you are updating something, updating the value, because it is explained in the next line that 10 times I'm calling the save method while updating the values as well. So you are updating value, then calling the save method again, then you are updating the value, then calling the save method. So when the how many times the query will be called? Okay, so it will be called only once while flushing, or every time it is calling the DB, it is executing the query. So whenever you are using Hibernate now, whenever you are using Hibernate, you can check the logs that how many times the query has been called. Okay, so in the logs the query will be printed, and in there you can check that how many times the query has been called. So that is one way to find out that. So please check that as well. And now I'm moved to the next question, which is another Hibernate question. There are a lot of DB question here. Then there are multi-threading questions as well. So the next question is one thing. So suppose I have like this I have is a transcript of the actual interview. So in that many things which are like it is not directly as a question. I need to we need to understand what has been asked in that particular line. Okay, so if I read it out, like it can be lost in the translation as well sometimes. So the question is one thing. So suppose I have a primary key and I want to use it as a employee object. Like employee object has a ID. So in Hibernate, which annotation will support a primary key? Okay, so we have a annotation called @ID which supports primary key. Okay, so like whenever it is used with the parameters, okay, and fields. So this is the annotation at id. Other question is, if the particular primary key is an integer or string, id will work. Now suppose I have an object like employee object, I want to use it as a key, and that is composite key. So in that case, any another annotation to be used? Okay. And subsequent question is, have you heard about embedded annotation? Okay, so this question is subsequent, it is related to the earlier asked question. So make sure you are writing everything, and like you will prepare for these as well. Okay, the other question is, what is the difference between factory pattern and abstract factory pattern? So abstract factory pattern is another layer of abstraction over the factory design pattern. Of course there are other differences as well, which you will find like in any other website, if you google them, or if you like google them on YouTube. If you search on YouTube, like you will find the differences. There are multiple videos available on these. Like another question is, in real time purpose, which one I should use? So to answer this question, you need to explain first that what is factory design pattern and what is abstract factory design pattern. And like if you are customizing the objects, if you are having different classes and you have to customize the objects as well, then you have to go to the abstract factory design pattern. So there are like multiple things there as well, so it can't be covered in this video, because in this video we are talking about the questions, only the real questions which has been asked. So and when you start preparing about these questions, you will get an idea that what is the main differences between these two design patterns. Okay, so another question is also on the design pattern side, which is in singleton design pattern we can use synchronized keyword. Apart from synchronized keyword, is there any advanced feature of Java to achieve the same purpose but more benefit? Okay. Okay, so in the case of singleton design pattern, what you do while the object creating the object creation method, you will declare this method as synchronized, or you will the object creation you will create a synchronized block and place the object creation code inside that. So to achieve the to make it thread safe, so instead of doing that, there is a thing called rent lock this. Okay, so instead of a synchronized block, you can use rent lock. Okay, so this rent lock is a class which implements the lock interface and provides the synchronization while accessing shared resources. Okay, there's a method called lock inside the rent lock, and you will get and you have to unlock it. So there is a method called unlock as well. Okay, so there is a method called lock and there is a method called unlock as well. Okay, inside this okay, another question is on Kafka, which is, you have used Kafka, so are you comfortable telling few things about Kafka? So if you have used Kafka in your project, then you must tell that like you have used Kafka and you are comfortable with that, and all the things like how to create a producer consumer, what are the dependencies you have been used, what are the version of dependencies, how you can create topics, and all these things you need to tell. The other question is, tell me, like if I have to read like a total 10 records, I have read 5 and there is a breakdown happening at the time of consuming, so I want to read from the one place I left, will I know? Okay, so let me explain this. So I have to read 10 records by Kafka. Okay, I have to consume 10 records. I have consumed five records, and I was about to consume sixth record. So what happens? There is a breakdown happened, and after the breakdown, when you resume consuming the record, will it consume from the starting, or will it consume from the record which it left earlier? Okay, so the sixth record. Okay, so like this is the actual question. So So there is a topic name, and the question, like another question is, we have producer and consumer. I mean, this is the same question, but it is explained in the more like better way. We have producer and consumer. So producer has given, and I'm trying to consume total 10 records. 5 records I have consumed. The sixth one was in the process of being consumed, and when the breakdown happened, at the consumer happened. Now will I consume sixth one, or how, where it will get noted that I have to start from the sixth one, because it was in the process of consumption but it missed because of the breakdown, service breakdown or anything. So to resolve these type of thing, there is a thing called offset, Kafka offset. You need to mention, like to resume your, like uh, resume your work. Okay. So another thing is, another question is, can you tell me the entire architecture in terms of tools and technology in terms of supporting microservices project? Okay, so there are multiple tools which are which has been used in the microservices. First of all, there will be a logging tool. It can be Greylogs, it can be Grafana, it can be Splunk. I mean, to view the logs. That is one thing. Then there will be some small tools like Sonar, Lint and all. Then there will be the tools which is maintaining the repository, like Bitbucket, GitLab, and there are multiple tools available. So whatever tools you have used in your project, you need to tell those. And about the technologies like Spring Cloud is there, then Hystrix is there. Okay, there are multiple frameworks or tools available in microservice architecture. So whatever you have used in your project, you need to tell those as well. So another question is, any other replacement of Hystrix scheme? Okay, so there is a thing called Resilient. It's a new thing. It's a framework which has been introduced in the place of Hystrix, because Netflix is not supporting Hystrix as of now, and it's a old. So the subsequent question was like that, because Hystrix is bit old. Support for history Hystrix support for Hystrix is stopped from Netflix. So is there any new way? So interviewer asked that, Resilient, have you heard about the Resilient framework? So like you have to read about Resilient framework. There is another this is another framework to so this is another framework to provide the fault tolerance or latency tolerance in microservices architecture. Okay. And another question is, what is circuit breaker design patterns? Okay, so circuit breaker design pattern is a tool, is a design pattern which is used for the fault tolerance and latency tolerance. And if you talk about Hystrix is a tool. Uh, Hystrix is a service. Hystrix is a framework. It's a library which helps to control the interaction between services by providing fault tolerance and latency tolerance. Okay, so Hystrix is a type of circuit breaker. Okay, so another question is, any scenario based annotation which you can tell, which you think not a common annotation but you think you have used it. So if you talk about microservices, if you talk about Spring Boot annotation, like annotation, there are multiples, like services, repository, REST controller and bean. But you don't need to tell about those. You have to tell which are not so common. So you need to tell about, you can tell some configuration annotation. There is a configuration, there is a value annotation, there is a ID annotation, there is a like validation annotation, like not null. Those things you can tell to answer this question. And what feature it supported to solve your problem. Okay, so whenever you are telling about any annotation, you have to use tell the use case of those annotations as well. Okay, so if you jump to the next question, have you used the JSON ignore or JSON filter annotation? So there is an annotation called JSON ignore and JSON filter. Okay, so tell about those as well. In a simple Google search, you will know that what is JSON ignore and what is JSON filter. Okay, like we have very less time, so I will move to the next question. But before going to the next question, if I haven't shared in this video, there's another Hindi channel where I talk about Java and career and a lot of things. So if you understand Hindi, consider subscribing that as well. I will link in the description. And there's a platinum membership is also open, so you will get a lot of videos in the platinum membership as well. Okay, so if you want to see this type of content more, then you can subscribe to my platinum membership. There will be real time like interview, uh, recorded interviews which I will upload. And there will be like many part 2 of these videos as well. So if you like deep dive into more about these questions and all, you can consider subscribing, consider my platinum membership as well. It is less than a cost of pizza or a coffee or a cigarette packet. So you can do that. I know you can do that. Okay, so another question is, some annotation can you tell for exception handling and Spring security side? So there are like annotation called enable Spring security or enable like in exception handling there is a controller advice, and there are multiple more annotation as well, so you can tell those. And in the next question, in the auth token all we information is there. So by meaning of auth token, I think the interviewer is asking about the JWT token. So in the JWT token there is payload, there is signature, there is header, so you need to explain that entire thing. Another question is, how does it understand, and how does it understand like one microservice understand the JWT token coming from the logging microservice? How does it understand? So if you read about JWT token, you can answer these basic questions. These are very very basic question. So how like filters are created, those filter will take the first request, and after taking those requests they can uh, they can break down and they can get the idea that if the request is coming from the right source or not. Okay, the other question is, any secret key in the code means how does it understand the particular JWT is coming from the same server, not from any other server, and what is the method like for generating the auth token, what is the method called? Okay, so the method is generate auth token. The method is generate auth token, and this method will return the auth token which will be returned to the end user. Okay, so when like in the future when any other request is coming from the user, it will come with the auth token. Okay, so the next question is, and suppose you got the JWT token, but you will provide it uh, to break it into a username, password, whatever details you want to getting the user details, getting the payload, and getting the other things together. What is the code for it? So if you understand the question, please comment what is the question is all about. uh, I have shared a lot of good question in this video, and trust me guys, it will be very helpful for you. Like if you like this type of content, please like my video. I'm targeting only 100 likes for this video. Okay, and thank you so much for watching. Keep subscribing, keep watching this video, keep preparing, and like all the best for your interviews.